keeping up with the Joneses, but we're comparing ourselves to the Joneses. And we have access to millions of Joneses every day because of social media. And the psychological concept of relative deprivation is that you are more likely to measure your circumstances based on a reference group. And that's kind of where the keeping up with the Joneses comes from. You know, you're comparing your satisfaction based on the conditions of people around you. So if they've got something, it's also used a lot in sort of social justice work, like the concept of relative deprivation in terms of access to opportunities for racial minorities, for example. Like it's, people might go, but you're fine, you've got this, but relatively to the reference group, there is deprivation. So the same thing applies to comparison in all senses, particularly financial. We can see, particularly people talking about their money stuff online, we can see other people's situations in a silo of no other knowing of them, which is kind of the way that it's always worked with the keeping up with the Joneses. So I think that it's, you know, knowing that that's where it's coming from. Awareness is the first kind of step to everything. Knowing that your reference group is wider than it's ever been. Thinking about what that reference group is, maybe auditing it a little bit if there are people that are making you feel bad. I mean, I get it too. I'm in the personal finance space and I'm probably the brokest person in the personal finance space because a lot of my peers are online talking about their multiple six-figure net worths, and they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years younger than me. And I'm here going, got 15K invested, be like me. You know, there's relative deprivation everywhere. There is comparison everywhere. Noticing the circumstances around who you're comparing to is the first thing. Auditing who you're comparing yourself to is the second thing. Kind of accepting that we are going to compare ourselves. Like you can give tips to the ends of the earth, but it's very human to reference your progress, your success, your happiness around what other people are doing. So that auditing helps because you're comparing against things that are realistic. But actually having, I think the greatest antidote to comparison is having a path for yourself so that you can compare against where you were to where you are now. There's caveats to that because what that can do then is have you feeling bad if you're worse. You know, life isn't linear, finances aren't linear. But I think that regardless, it helps if you know what your next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps are, whether that's paying off debt, whether that's making a net worth to 500,000. If you know what's next for you, it's kind of, again, that rehearsal thing. When you see yourself comparing to other people, you have to intercept that thought and that feeling and put yourself in a different environment. So is that journaling? Is that looking at your goals? Is it visualization? I've actually really had to pull my head out of my backside on visualization because I thought it was super woo-woo. But in financial psychology, there's a lot of science behind it. Well, in all psychology, there's a lot of science behind it. And I've started working with it a lot more. And it's very powerful in terms of cutting out that noise of comparison and recentering yourself on what you're doing for you. And there's that you thing again. There's that knowing yourself. Because when you don't know what you want, you see, I use this example a lot. I used to think I wanted designer handbags. It was only because I couldn't have them. And I saw other people that had them. And then when I sort of started thinking, yeah, that's what I want and working towards it, it wasn't what I wanted at all. And now I work out what I do, what my values really are. I talk about financial values an awful lot. Now I know what I want money for and what I want in my life. I don't compare myself to the people doing other things. Like travel is a big one. I like holidays and I love hotels. I'm not going to backpack the world because I can't do it. Like
it's hard work.
It's not for me. But for so long I compared myself going, oh God, I've got to save up so much money so I can go to 50 countries in a year. I don't want to do that. And so now I see people doing that and I love that for them. If that's what they want to do, that's amazing. But it's not what I want to do. So having a path for yourself and knowing what you actually want, not what you've been socialized to want, can be quite helpful.
That's where the journal helps.